Hello, everybody. Welcome to Spontaneous. I am your host, Phoebe Mack. And on today's show, I get to interview Mr. OG Rick. And we're also sponsored by Papa's Gourmet Popcorn, located at 1148 North Milwaukee. Go get you some.
So hear what I say, for it is the truth you see. There can only be one, the original OG.
I'll have the privilege of interviewing OG Rick, the host of
The
Original
OG,
OGs.
which stands for the original
Gentlemen.
/ ladies.
Mr. Rick came to sit down and have a conversation with me.
Yes, ma'am.
Said he was open. He's an open book, and he wears hard on his sleeve. What made you start that podcast for the Original Gentleman?
Well, I had been in and out of Hollywood for 35, 40 years. My partner and I, who's a trained film producer, has like 17 movies under his belt. And we were looking for a story. And we got tired of looking, and he said, why don't we just do you? I said, okay, that's fine. I've been in front of cameras, many, many years. And he said, well, let's think of a name of a show. And he said, well, let's go home and we come back and, we'll see what we got. So he came back, he said, I got it. I said, what? He said, the original OGs. I said, I like that, but it cannot be original gangsters. It has to be original gentlemen. I don't want to live that life anymore. We're bringing something positive. So it's the original gentleman / ladies. And so we said, okay, we shot a sizzle reel, sent the sizzle reel out 7 days. Atlas Entertainment picked us up.
Right.
We've been rolling ever since. It's been about 4 years, going on 4 years.
And I'm kind of glad you cleared that up because usually, like in our area, if we see OG, we're going to think original gangster.
Automatic.
So automatically, and I appreciate you differentiating that and clearing that up for people to know. People change and life change, and we're on a more positive era now. And so I love original gentlemen plus the ladies, because I am a lady. So let's keep that part real.
Yeah, we have children. I don't want my children aspiring to be a gangster. They're sending us down the rabbit hole now that our children are really acting themselves out in ways that they think is gangster. But to become a lady or a gentleman, it's bigger than gangster.
And so what do you feel about, for example, like they have like different programs that the city trying to start right now? What do you think about even training the young women and men to do that, to be gentlemen and ladies?
Well, that is my goal, to be able to do that. I just had a show Monday out in Harvey. It was unbelievable. We had politicians, we had community leaders, we had entertainers, all in one room, all showing what ladies and gentlemen should act like. And it was phenomenal. I've been doing this, like I said, almost 40 years. And I worked with some of the biggest people in this business. That was the greatest show I ever did.
Like a debutante kind of ball?
It was an awards ball. I awarded the different politicians, the community workers, entertainers, and just brought them all together. I'll give you some pictures. When I tell you phenomenal, it was phenomenal. Hosted by our one and only Damon Williams.
The comedian from Chicago.
Yes. And everybody was there. I could be naming people, but I don't want to leave names out. But Jesse Jackson Jr., LaShawn Ford, Pete Frazier, Rose Wellington, Wakita, son of Jeff Ford. I could just be here all day telling you.
I mean, you said that, and that was one of my questions. So I guess that's the perfect segue to even ask this question, because you had a lot of greats on your show, like Don Juan, Lady Dane, and comedian Damon Williams, who hosted your show, an event recently. So let's talk about, right, how do you connect with them? You're saying all friends of yours. How did you connect with us?
I've been in this game for, like I said, about 40 years. Let's talk about people like Bishop Juan. I managed Bishop Juan for many, many years, in and out of Hollywood. Damon and I, we've been friends for 30-something years. When you talk about all the other people being in the entertainment business and just fraternizing with those people, we became friends. And now that I'm doing what I'm doing, they respect it because they respect me, you know. So I try to reciprocate and show the respect back.
Don Juan was like a mentor to you.
Yes, I did. I brought a lot of big deals to the table for him. Created his clothing company, a lot of movie situations, different things. I mean, he opened a lot of doors for me by allowing me to come to Hollywood and work with him. I produced a lot of the players' balls at the biggest level and different things of that nature. That's why my shows look so great, because he gave me the opportunity to work out all the kinks. So now when I do it, I'm pretty much just good.
And having a good time and looking good while you at it.
Thank you.
Let's talk about your past that you said you were open to. How did you get started with that into fashion and even being in connection with Don Juan them, the balls and things like that?
I started out when I came out of the military. Well, while I was in the military, I was doing modeling and different things, experimenting with, I was in Europe, so I was experimenting with the clothing culture. I got out of the military and started in tailoring school, but didn't finish it, but always had that compassion, that passion for it. Years later, you know, fast forward, once I began working with Bishop, it opened up so many doors. I was already in entertainment, but for him, you know, to allow me to work with him, it just opened up so many doors. I made so many friends with so many big people. And we started doing the balls and different things, and I had a certain vision of how I wanted to do it. And it just kept growing, and I kept growing. And my character is something that I kept growing on. Thing that I want to do, I want to say is, during the process of all of this, I was in and out of prison.
Okay.
So, you know, I met Bishop. He tells the story. If you go on my show, if you look at my show, you'll see me interviewing him. And he says how we met. I used to sell clothes.
Okay.
So I had these beautiful silk suits. And he drove by me. And I wasn't driving. I told my guy, pull up behind him. And I got out the car and I knocked on the back of his trunk. I'm knocking on his car. And he's like, I say, brother, man, I got some suits you would just love, man, and I'll give them to you just to see you in them, man, if you pull over. He said, hey, follow me down to my church. I followed him to the church and I laid all my suits out. He said, these are beautiful. I said, hey, man, take your choice. So he picked like 4 suits, and quite naturally he helped me sell a lot of suits. And at that moment, we kind of connected. And I started coming up on Madison. Ghost and I, you know, we all hung up there, and he knew I was in entertainment, you know, doing some things. And I said to him, I say, we need to start letting me work with you, man. I can dress you, I can make your scenes a little bit more elegant, you know. I mean, he was a very fashionable guy all the time. And maybe 2-3 years later, he said, well, hey, man, why don't I give you a shot at it? And that's what we started doing. And shortly after that, I went out to Vegas. I met a gentleman that used to be with Dickies. You remember Dickies?
Mm-hmm.
The clothing company.
Yeah.
I met him in Vegas, and we started talking. I said, well, you know, I got a client, Don Bishop Juan. He was like, what? I'm like, yeah, he's my client. He was like, oh my God, I just left Dickies. I'm finna start my own thing, man. Can you put us together? Like, he's my client, man. He's like, hey, well, I want to meet with him. And we met with him, and the next thing you know, maybe 6 months later, we created clothing. It went crazy.
Yes, historically, just seeing like the fashion, and Don Juan is known for his fashion and the pop out, the colors, everything, even with his cars and things like that. So
He's unique. He's the green and gold. That's my
very
children
unique.
used to call him the green and gold man.
Green for the money and gold for the
Yeah.
money. That was good.
And we did some beautiful T-shirts and shirts and caps and jackets and slacks, and I mean, we couldn't even keep up with the demand. That's how he and I kicked it off. We're still great friends now. I give reverence to him whenever I can. He was a huge part of what I do now because God brought him in my life. And one time we stopped in Vegas in the middle of the casino. I said, Church, why don't we stop and pray? And he just stopped and started praying. We looked up, must have been 100 people around.
In the middle of Vegas, like in a casino, or
See,
and just prayed, and everybody just started gathering, praying while they gambling.
everybody just gathered around and started praying. It was crazy.
That is crazy.
Right.
I couldn't even imagine that.
Well, I mean, I'm a very spiritual person. I enjoy moments like that. And what people don't know, but I wanted to express to people as being one of his managers, is how spiritual he really is.
What do you mean by negative conversations that people have with you concerning your friend?
Well, people, even with me, people don't want to let you leave the past.
Right.
And they always, oh, I remember that nigga. And, you know, he was a pimp and he was busy. So should I go there on you? Should you go there on me?
Right.
Because I was not a nice person. You know, and hey, I'll be the first to say it. But life is about redemption. You know, as long as Creator gives me the opportunity and the power to redeem myself, then I don't live in my past.
And that was one of my statements in my introduction for you, is just bringing people to the table to talk about history and change. Because, of course, you got to know the history to know why things needed to be changed and why you guys took steps forward to make that change.
Well, for me, I was born, I think, in a very unique time. I was born before the civil rights, so therefore I saw the unfolding of the white dominance. You know, I grew up, couldn't go across that street because that belonged to white folk.
Red line.
And I mean, they would literally beat you down. The police would literally take you and drop you off in a different neighborhood for you to be beat down. Seeing that, seeing Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and all of these people, and coming home every day and listening to my parents and my grandparents' conversation, and they being out of Mississippi and not being fearful people, the conversation was a little different. And that became part of me. I experienced seeing all of the different gangs and became part of some of that, the whole 9 yards. And I felt that it was being treated with injustice. So I wanted to be able to tell the story from the origin of it as much as I could. Find as many people who were there and allow them to tell their stories.
You talked about you being in and out of jail, and the injustices of jail and what's happening in our neighborhood and to our people. Connect those stories for me. Like, how did you end up in jail to realize, okay, this is an injustice? Because, of course, we know you can go to jail for 20 years for some white man, same age, same crime, and he'll be out. So I want to talk about that.
Well, for me, I'm not going to say I went to prison for the wrong reasons.
Okay.
You know, I was a street hustler and I was a counterfeiter.
Okay.
So every time I got caught for a reason. I met a lot of people in prison that felt that they should not have been there. And in my eyes, after looking at their case, and I did some law while I was in there, and I didn't think they needed to be there either. I thought there was some misjustice there. But it all started with me coming up in that era. Heroin was a big thing. And I became addicted to heroin. And in the process of that, and me hustling, when I grew up, I had a goal to be the greatest hustler ever walked out of Chicago.
Okay.
You know, and I didn't have the right intent. You know, so I lived on the dark side, and I did a lot of things. I ended up getting hooked on heroin. Must have been addicted to heroin for maybe 40, 45 years.
You know, I'm going to say what my mom said. Oh, I'm glad I don't look like what I've been through.
You see what I'm saying? But the crazy part about it, I got hooked on heroin in the U.S. Army. When I joined the Army, I was 18 years old. I went in the military. I went overseas. I was stationed in Germany. Some of you may know Baumholder, Germany. I became middleweight boxing champion for the Army in Baumholder. But in the process, Germany has the purest heroin found on planet Earth. I got addicted to it. While I was fighting and winning championships, I was a heroin addict. But I was so young that I didn't know what it meant to be a heroin addict.
Okay.
You know, when it came time to fight, I would stop using the heroin maybe 2 weeks before my fight. And after the fight, I'd go back to using. I didn't know what a real addiction was until after I stopped fighting, and then the usage became a daily thing. And then I understood one day when I ran out of heroin, because I was selling heroin at the same time. You know, so like I said, I always been a hustler. You know, I was in the military. I must have been in 1977. I must have been making $50,000 to $100,000 a month in the military. Back then, that was like $1 million.
So that was basically the military seemed like your plan B, and hustling was kind of your plan A.
Yeah, I mean, I was just a born hustler. I'm still a hustler. I just evolved, learned that you need to hustle the right things. There's nothing wrong with hustle. If you're hustling, please don't stop. Just make your product a legal product, and hopefully a healthy product, and get all you can get, because I don't believe in allowing other people to go and do for me what I can do better for myself.
Understood.
You know, so hustling has always been my key.
And with that hustling piece and component of your life, you went to jail for selling heroin?
I never went to jail for selling heroin. The only thing I ever went to jail for was counterfeiting. I counterfeited credit cards and counterfeited money, everything. I duplicated anything. And that's what I went to prison for. I went to federal prison for that. Never for selling drugs. The credit card situation put me in that, but I sold drugs at a different level. I wasn't on the corner.
Okay.
You know, see, I went to federal prison and I met some very interesting people. And when I came out, I had the connections to be able to do things at a different level.
What I do appreciate is through your past and your change, now that there's a lot of like the original gentlemen are seeing what they contributed to the neighborhoods and now trying to build them back up. What's your stance on that?
It is your responsibility. If you broke something, your responsibility is to fix it. So we broke a lot of stuff.
Right. I like that you're taking accountability too.
Oh, you have to, you know, because I have children. Everyone else has children. So the problems that we helped create, we need to help fix some of it so that we can make the world a better place for the children. This thing is bigger than us. You know, to become a gentleman or a lady, that is the ultimate goal. The President of the United States has a lady, First Lady. You know, they just choose not to title him gentleman, but it's the same thing. The ultimate goal in life, your parents must have said it to you, mine said it to me, was to be a perfect gentleman. You know, I am not trying to say that I'm a perfect gentleman. I am nowhere near it. I'm just striving to be a gentleman. And hopefully, maybe someday, I would even get close to being a perfect gentleman. But that ain't where I'm at. But I'm doing all the right things that can get me there.
So we have a mutual friend, someone that I love. I come up under Ghost. He connected us. Tell me your connection to Ghost.
Ghost is my man. Been my man for about 35 years. Me and Ghost have been in the thick of it. when I tell you we've been in the thick of it, we've been in the thick of it. But how I met Ghost, we would see each other in passing. We're both off Chicago Avenue. But I had these silk suits that I was telling you about, and met Ghost. I told him, I said, hey, brother, I got these suits, man. You know what I'm saying? I think you'll really like them. They were some walkers. I had some traditionals like this, and I had some walkers. And he said, well, let me see something, man. I showed it to him. He said, man, it's nice. I said, yeah, I'll give you a good deal, man, if you buy a few. He said, no, follow me around the Van Buren. So I followed him around the Van Buren. He said, yeah, let me see what you got, man. I took all the suits out. He said, well, what do you want for all of them? I said, well, add all that up, man. That's going to go about 10 grand, bro. He said, okay, wrap it up. I want all of them. And he told somebody, hey, go up there and count me $10,000.
That sounds like Ghost. He, you know, one thing about Ghost, he know how to delegate and put people together.
Oh, Ghost is a powerful instrument, man. You know, when it comes to guys that really made things happen, move in the community, Ghost one of them guys.
So with me, historically, my friend and I, slugging in the raw seat, we had this group of women called Ill Legion, and we were throw and host parties and promote parties and do music, and Ghost would just say, oh, come on. Next thing you know, we're in a limo. We go do a show in a little small town somewhere. It's like, how we end up here one night? Like, Ghost would be doing stuff like that. Never really in front of the scenes, though. He'll just be standing in the background.
To this day.
And I will say, whenever I hear your name or his name, it's a lot of respect behind that.
Yes.
Just because you guys are in the streets and street hustling, you are ultimate good guys too.
Yes. We weren't the type of guys that stayed in mess. If there were problems, if they called us, it was like, hey man, can you reach out to so and so, man, and we try to get this situation straight here, you know, and we would make the calls and be like, hey man, you know, that's my man, you my man. I think y'all deserve a conversation or something. You know, we don't have to do this. And we were always successful that way because the people respected us in that way. You know, behind the scenes, they knew we were making things happen in our world. You know, so we've always had that respect. Fortunately, we still have that respect. We're not in the streets, but at a different level, the streets still respect us.
What would you tell the youth today? Because I hear you constantly saying about the youth and about the youth and giving back. What would you tell the youth today? Like, what advice to give them?
What I would say too, first of all, leading into your question, I have a conversation with the young guy that I was every day, you know. And what I'm saying to young people is, if it be the will of God, you'll be having those same conversations with yourself. I look at that young guy and I feel so pitiful for him. I feel so, my heart just bleeds for him because he was just an ignorant little kid trying to figure out how to navigate in a real bad situation. And fortunately for me, God blessed me to whereas I could navigate to where I am now. You know, and when I look back, I would say to young people, whatever you do in life, make sure that you have the tools to do it with. You know, you got to get a tool, whatever it is. I don't know. You got to get a legitimate tool that's going to help you navigate. If you want to do film, you got to learn your craft. If you want to be a musician, you got to learn your craft. If you want to be a scientist, you have to learn your craft. Once you learn the craft, then your goal should be to master it. Once you master it, then life becomes a beautiful thing. Without your tools, you're going to go down a rabbit hole where there's no light. So I say to you, get your tools. Always make that your priority. I am not a person that went to the many different universities or what have you. I've been to school. Never could finish school because I was too busy doing things in the streets. I'd go to school, I'd start school, about the second semester or whatever, something would come along and the opportunity for me to make $200,000-300,000 would be there. I got to pay bills today. Then I will eventually lose sight on what I should be doing in school because I'm focused on this right here, because these opportunities, when they come, you have to take advantage of them in that life. And I'd say, well, I'll get back to that. But that was not the smartest thing to do. You know, I should have stayed with my craft and got my education and went on. But it worked out for me. I can't guarantee you it'll work out for you.
Right, because your journey is your journey.
Thank you.
And you sound like you have like a lot of healing with that you're able to even talk to your younger self, because a lot of kids don't know about talking to even their younger self or getting therapy. Talk to me about your mental health with that.
Being able to talk to yourself is a blessing if you're honest with yourself. If you're honest and truthful with yourself, it is the best conversation you can have. If someone else would have done to me what I did to myself, I would kill them. One way or the other. Only thing I can advise you is be addicted to good things. Society is trying to give you everything that is to your disadvantage. Be smart. Use all the things that are to your advantage. No one can force them on you. Some things you will do because you just didn't know them.
I see a lot of the young guys, like you said, they'll be in the streets, literally like selling and dealing drugs. But the skills I'm seeing is chemist, businessman, right? I'm seeing those skills that can take them to another level in that hustle, because that hustle don't necessarily mean you have to be on the street doing that hustle.
That's not a hustle. That's a waste of time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You know,
Check me and everybody else.
in life, you have to get your tools. Once you get those tools, you have to learn how to use them, then master them, and then you'll be able to create a world around you that is manipulated by your tools. And once you do that, then you can begin to break glass ceilings.
OG Mr. Rick, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to Spontaneous. Thank you to Papa's Popcorn. We love you.
Beautiful show, thank you. And thank you on my show.
All right.
That part.
Right.
Right. Coming out called the Culture Report. Look for it. It's going to be a smash. We'll be there. We'll have a great conversation. I love being on that side.
I see. I said I wanted to get you here because I'm like, he's always on this side. And your cadence, the way you interview and the way you get people to just talk and tell that story, because the stories they're telling are not pretty from when they started. Thank you. Invite me to come and sit in the background and watch you work and learn.
Without a doubt.
All right, there you have it, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to Spontaneous, where you never know what we'll be talking about or what we'll be doing. Now let me dig into this popcorn.